understanding of it and how this gigantic universe that it represents. However, there people don't know that there are a lot of there is more behind it that we don't know about.
Yes, the big universe we've seen for the past 10 years is even bigger
Yeah,
than we see now.
a good example of that is, for instance, Black Panther, which in the comic books represent he was seen as an example of we don't want racism, and in the movie he has that kind of version, but he's like, nah, I'm gonna stay here and mind my own business with and do nothing about things that are happening in the outside world and that kind of stuff. And this really goes into how movies are changed in order to appeal to a greater public.
Yes, yes, I think the superhero stories as depicted in the movies came with the mindset of all the movies.
Uh-huh.
We're making movies to earn billions.
We want to sell that.
Yes, and that's just a way that the superhero theme got into. It just followed this flow. But I think that's good from a side because it can be a way to take many important discussions to many people, but in a certain way, I think it takes a little of the deepness of those discussions, you know, because when you read a comic book, I think that even the way the draws are made, it's deeper, it's more, it carries more impact, you know, when there are fights, when the emotions of the characters, everything, as I see, gets, I don't know, a little bit harder, you know. And there was something that really I don't know, got in my mind. Once I was reading a comic book of I don't know if it's called the Supremes in English. I don't know.
I'm not sure either.
Anyways, it's a group. It's like an Avengers, but with other people.
Good explanation. It's Avengers 2.0.
Yes, you have the Wasp, you have the Ant-Man, but the Ant-Man grows and becomes a giant. Then in that comic book was Hank
Pym, yeah.
Hank Pym with the Wasp, and there's a part of the story where the Wasp is there doing her things, and she gets into a fight with Hank, and Hank goes and takes some I don't know this insect killing thing on her. You're like, dude,
yeah,
you can't spray that. She's your wife, and she almost dies. And the whole story is about the other members of the group searching for Hank because he ran away. He almost killed his wife
and
with insect poison and ran away.
Yeah, and like the thing that it shows is because like many times characters are changed because in order to sell. Because in the movies, for instance, Iron Man, he's goody two shoes. I mean, kind of. They kind of adapted how he is politically incorrect. But like in the comic books, he is straight up a jerk. He is an alcoholic, and he has no respect whatsoever for anyone. And
he wouldn't engage on that Sokovia treat like he did in the movies.
In the movie, yeah, and also that's one thing that it shows is how media in general, not only cinema but especially cinema, it can influence the comic. It can influence the comic book sometimes. A good example of that is how Harley Quinn was created for Batman the Animated Series. She was supposed to be a one episode a one episode figure. She was supposed to appear in one episode, but then the public liked her so much that she stayed for the entire show. And later she was adapted into the comics, and that is something that I think is pretty interesting. Also, Barbara Gordon, which is the main Batgirl.
Yes.
She only became Batgirl after the Adam West TV show that there's the whole dancing Batman thing.
Oh, we love it. I think it's a classic.
It's a classic.
I respect it a lot. I don't think.
Yeah.
I don't like when people make funny of it. It's important.
Yeah. Well, anyways, it's an important. The movies is something that is important in order for people to like comic books more. But like, it's something that sometimes, like, people in general are superficial. They see something into a movie and they assume as true. They don't look behind it, and they don't really try to find out what it actually is. And Hank Pym is a good example of that as well, because in the Ant-Man movie, he is kind of a good guy, but like
a little some moral issues. I can see some moral
but
issues
still,
there.
But like, still, they can't make him beating up his wife because Marvel trying to be family friendly and the whole
and I think that getting in this issue, like, to show an example of that and then show how you should fight that, I don't think it fits on the MCU. You know, the MCU, it's of course my point of view, the MCU is building itself based on big issues, big problems that we have to face. And I think it's so big, the whole universe, the whole thing, that they miss some points, such as this Black Panther thing you're saying. I never thought about it, but actually, if in one side he's very representative, he's putting black people on the screen, and you know, I think about those little boys who are actually seeing a person like them being strong, being correct, being there. But in the other side, he's close to his people. Like, he's closed in his world. He's protected with high technology, and they're living good because they're living there.
Yeah.
Because if they leave the place, if they go to New York,
it's not really
what's gonna happen with them?
And
you know?
This enters a lot in is getting off topic a little bit for a moment. This goes a lot into the morality of the character. For instance, Black Panther, he's the leader of a nation that has the power to.
He's a ruler.
Yeah, he's the ruler of a nation that has enough power to declare war against the entire world. Of course, a fiction nation. But anyways, in the comic he had the power to, and in the movie as well, he has the power to declare war against the entire world if he wants to, and maybe get on top of it. I don't know. Anyways, but he decides to mind his own business because in his mind it's not right to impose his own culture on
others.
on others. But does that really mean you should let racism be there and
because
not do anything about it? Because a good example, like, it shows this a little bit in the first Iron Man movie, in which he builds an armor, which is pretty much a war tool, and he uses it to kill terrorists. Which technically, what he did was wrong. He needed to, because it could lead to war. It could lead to a bunch of other trouble. So it gets into a lot, which is like those comics get into a lot. If should I use my power or should I not?
Yeah, so it I don't think we are off topic because it gets back to the point when you said that the movies universe can embrace only some level of the discussion. They can go to the deepest of it because I think it's entertainment in the end. So You're not going to the movies to see the end game, to watch a long
a 3-hour movie about overpopulation, for instance.
Or how authoritarian figures are created and how wrong they are, and the social political analysis. It's not about that. But I think that getting back to how we started our discussion, it's a nice way to see how these stories, these scripts change to discuss the themes that are important for us to discuss now. As you mentioned, you were talking to your history teacher. It's not important for us now to discuss if we should or if we should not take down the Berlin Wall. It's down already.
Yeah, true.
Now we have to discuss other kinds of issues, and I think it's very good to see how they're just being discussed now with so many people, reaching so many people. But I think it's important to talk about something you mentioned too, that people should go deep, because the actual comics are filled with interesting things that are actually discussed deep, because they're like a bunch of volumes. You have a history with, I don't know, maybe 50 or 30 volumes that you can read and read. And today, since everybody makes things to sell, they got all the 30s in like 5 pieces. And you can go in your own ways, buying them, reading them, getting them from your friends, and understanding, because that there's actually a Harvard course about how the superheroes are a great way to study human beings, to study anthropologic issues.
Yeah, makes sense.
So it is us. It is
a reflection on us. But of course, for movies, they only adapt the good stuff, which is a good part. So we don't end up with having to watch in the movies about Spider-Man's Clone Saga, which those who know about it know it's not good.
Yes, of course.
Don't go and read that.
Of course, that's not a thing that we
want to read and want to remember.
Yes, we don't want you to go there, but reading all the Civil War things, reading actually, because there's a bunch of things that were in the movie. Reading all the many arcs regarding the X-Men. I think the X-Men is, of course, but one of the greatest ways to see how discussing diversity changed from when they were created until now.
How they are now.
Yeah. Yes, and they have like thousands and thousands of groups of X-Men. The young ones, then the old ones, then the ones that are neglected even by other mutants. They have bunches and bunches of groups, and each group, each arch talks about a different side, a different way that diversity can be discussed. It's very interesting, and I think that, I don't know, I think our main invitation in this episode is for everybody to go beyond the movies, go beyond what we're seeing in the theaters. I think it's a very interesting way to know more about our society and reflect about it.
Makes sense. So we're getting a little off time, so I think it's good if we end right now, and remember to check out the other episodes. Some are still coming out, so yeah, that's it. Bye.